Hello. It might help if I do this. Steve Lowry, the editor of the High-Low here at the Post, and you have not stumbled into a community version of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. No, you will be listening to and talking with members of the Long Beach Post. You know, we've done a lot of these live chats where we've talked to experts on anything from emotional fitness to city government. Today, we're going to talk to the experts on covering the coronavirus crisis. First, we have Jason Ruiz. Jason, show everyone your face. Jason covers a lot of City Hall. Stephanie Rivera, who mentioned she was having trouble breathing. There she is, looking good. And our photo editor, Thomas Cordova. Thomas, so pretty. Hi, guys. Thanks for being here, even though most of you are just scattered about the office. Hey, I wanted to start with one of the challenges of covering the crisis that has to do with our kind of physical space. Thomas, you were telling me of a great quote by one of the great photographers of all time, Robert Capa. Explain the quote.
Yeah, Robert Capa is a World War II war photographer. One of his quotes was, "If your pictures aren't good enough, you're not close enough."
And that is how we do our job. It made me think, when I usually do interviews, I use space to sometimes get close with people, touch them on the shoulder, smile at them, all these kinds of physical kind of cues to let them know I'm kind of locked on them. We can't do that now. I'm curious, guys, how you have adjusted your reporting style, given that, look, we get a lot of privileges as reporters. One privilege we don't get, though, is to not be responsible citizens. We've got to adhere to the same kind of social distancing anyone else does. But it does present challenges. Steph, how about for you?
I've definitely had to switch to being more, having a more positive voice when I'm talking with folks, making sure that I'm loud enough and present myself friendly with just talking to them. Definitely using hand movements help a lot, not so much touching them, but, waving them or, however you can move them around. Also, when I'm emailing or texting folks, I use emojis. I think that helps a lot too. So those have been my strategies. Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas, how about you? How about your photography? If you can't, you were telling me there are certain lenses that you love that you can't really use right now.
Right. Usually I use a wide angle lens, a 24 millimeter. But now, I'm not using that lens anymore. I'm using my long lens, my 200 millimeter, 70 to 200 millimeter, which is a telephoto, a zoom lens, if you will. And I'm using that now, which is a different style for me because I prefer to get right in there with my wide angle lenses. But yeah, that's not possible. So
you and I were at a shoot yesterday. Lovely little girl is gonna get a bone marrow transplant. Her community was so excited that they performed one of these kind of drive-by parades. I saw you, and I'm not saying you were struggling, but I could tell you were struggling within yourself. You wanted to get so close and get those pictures of this beautiful little girl, but you had to keep pulling yourself back.
Right. I just got to retrain my brain to shoot a different way, a different style. So you just got to adjust. And it's important, we got to keep that distance. So
Jason, we always joke that even though, I can certainly get enough of you in here, people seem to love you. It's inexplicable, but there it is. It's the fact. Have you found that your incredible, I don't know what it is, hold over people, is it difficult to maintain it again with all these restrictions?
It's a little bit harder to connect, like you were saying. I don't understand it either, but sometimes you do need to get close to somebody, or they need to see your eyes and see your body language to read that they can maybe trust you, Right. And it's hard to do that when you're doing all of your work over the telephone or through emails. Not being able to be physically present at city council meetings is both logistically hard, but also hard to find people who you wouldn't otherwise find. I mean, we've all probably found stories from public comment, people who just randomly showed up and they had a really interesting story, but now we don't know what the public thinks about things until the next day when the city clerk posts the minutes, because all the public comments done via e-comment now. So it's challenging.
I was talking with a colleague of ours, Asia Morris, and she was feeling a little frustrated that a lot of the stories we're doing now, every other reporter is doing that story. It's gotten when you're a reporter, one of the things you do is you get out there and you can, go into certain areas other people aren't at. You can have a conversation with someone and find out about something. Well, of course, everyone is pretty much behind a locked door now, and you can't do that. Steph, what are you doing to try and get the unique story that maybe not everybody else can get, or is that just not accessible to us now?
I would say that we're very fortunate to have a big Instagram presence. And so by us showing that we're on it, we're constantly feeding news. We like to share what community members are seeing throughout the community, where it's positive signs or, reminders to not litter, your face mask and all that. I think from that, people know that we're responsive. And so we've been fortunate to be able to get messages and news tips. And when I do find those, I'll pass them along to Shantae, who's been doing a lot of great videos too. So I feel like that's been the main source for me in trying to get news, has been through our social media channels.
Steph, you're really good at getting people, just regular folks, into the paper, telling their stories. A lot of the people where we tell stories right now, they have, they're like government people. They've got people whose job it is to reach out to us. And so they're going to get a lot of coverage at this time. If you're just some normal person and you have a good story, or something is going on that you think needs to be looked into, what's the best way for regular folk to get our attention?
Direct messaging us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Those are the ones that we do check out. And obviously email. We have all our contacts on our homepage on lbpost.com. So you can see if you need a city council story for Jason at lbpost.com. And me for Stephanie. I think those have been the easiest ways to get connected with community members.
Jason, you mentioned City Hall, and every Tuesday the past couple of weeks has been a lot of fun to figure out what technological glitch is going to happen during a council meeting, and how they try to kind of save themselves. Talk to us about a few of the challenges they've had.
So the first week was probably the most chaotic, was when they still had closed. Well, I mean, they had significantly restricted access to City Hall. So every other, I think it was like 4 seats in between were blocked off, and it maybe had a capacity of 50. So I showed up for that meeting along with like 5 other people. And in the middle of the meeting, it became apparent that their stream was failing. And so I had to take my phone out and go live to broadcast it to everybody on Twitter. People were telling me that it was down. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. And so I ended up having to sit there for a few hours holding my hand like this. And, one of the security guards at City Hall was nice enough to come and bring me a power cable, because I hadn't brought mine. I didn't anticipate having to live stream it. But it's definitely a challenge for people just trying to tune in, because you either have to have you have to have internet, and we know that 20% of the city doesn't, and then you have to have fast internet to be able to stream live video like that, or you have to have cable. So it kind of excludes a lot of people from being able to participate right now.
Do you find, Jason, at all, we've talked about this, like you and I love to talk about sports, and the idea of sports in front of no crowd is a very different thing than when there's a crowd there kind of giving energy and all that kind of stuff. Do you find at all that the council, without a audience there, maybe to voice their displeasure at some point, or put some pressure on them, are the meetings different in tone?
They're definitely faster because the public comment, I know they had whittled it down to about a minute now for each speaker, or 90 seconds. now there's none of that because everything is done through e-comment. So the meetings are faster. But I mean, over the years, I've talked to a number of council people who told me that if you get a large amount of people to show up and speak against or for something, it could sway votes. And
They
that's
actually do
not
get
happening.
swayed by people.
I mean, according to these people that have told, whether or not that's true, I don't know. But in their eyes, they've said that they've seen people show up and change, maybe not everybody's vote, but the swing vote, And now there's not that pressure because it's e-comment. And I mean, and I don't know that the council people are reading these. I know, with speaking with the city clerk last week, she said that they print them out and provide them to the city council members, but the portal is open until about 15 minutes before the meeting starts. I can't imagine they're reading through all of the comments before the things are getting voted on. It's really hard to multitask, for me anyways.
Thomas, your photography is fantastic no matter what you're doing, but one of the best things you do is you photograph people. Many times people who are really not aware of you and they're going about reacting to something. There's so few people on the street, Thomas. Are you starved for connection? What is it like for you frankly, as an artist, not to have like that color in your palette?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely missing the people. I mean, I'm a firm believer that every photo should have a person in it. It's just what connects us all together. The other day, I was trying to, when it was raining last week, I was out trying to get some rain art, and I just couldn't find it. There just wasn't anybody out there, with the shot that I wanted. So yeah, I'm starving for people.
We all are.
No therapy session. I like this.
Yeah, no, I'm just missing the community. I'm missing the city. I'm missing the people in the city. So
yeah, I mean, we talk about, what's the first thing you're going to do? People always say I'm going to go out to a restaurant or something like that. The idea that you could actually sit down with someone and just have a 15-minute interview, like that seems like incredible now, like,
right.
Will that ever happen again? I want to bring in our publisher, David Summers, if he can pop in here. We want to talk to David about another challenge that goes on, which is the challenge of keep producing great journalism when, let's face it, there's not a lot of stuff out there in the way of advertising, which is why we're paid. Hello, David. Yay, David. David,
Great.
Talk to us about, we're talking about our jobs, about going out and talking to people and getting great stories. If you don't know, one of the things a publisher does is make sure that we have all the resources we need. David, how is that going?
It's been tough. We are not in any different position than every other newsroom in the country right now that is seeing a rapid decline in advertising revenue. We are very fortunate here at the Post as a digital publication that we don't have the costs of newsprint and production of a paper or delivery costs, but advertising revenue is off dramatically. Fortunately, though, we have tremendous support from our community in terms of financially supporting the Post, which is even more extraordinary by the fact that we don't have a paywall. We do our work for our community for free.
Yeah, it's amazing. I sit back with our good friend Dennis Dean. He's the one who gets a lot of the people mentioning, "Hey, I'd like to support. I'd like to support." And I hate to say this, I'm stunned, and I think it maybe says me a little how I look at human nature. How about you, David? Are you surprised by the amount of people who reach out, and many of them who already support us and increase that support, or did you kind of expect this?
We're going through a tough spell as a community and as a state and as globally right now. But the thing that impresses me most about having lived in this city for as long as I have is that this community rises to the challenge, that divisiveness goes away, that partisanship goes away, that it's about what's in the best interest of us all. And I've seen people lift each other up. here in this newsroom and in the city. It's keeping me going. It's what's keeping this newsroom going. It's amazing.
David, you get to hang out a lot of times with some power players in this city. I'm just curious. So far, what is the vibe with them? We're talking to individuals all the time about, hey, what are you going to do after? How are you preparing to do this? We have a piece coming up about Brian Anderson talking about how the hospitality industry is going to react to this. When you're talking to a lot of the people who are in, frankly, the power structure, what is the overall kind of feeling about where the city is now and where it's going to be in about a month or so?
No one knows for certain. I would say that the common thing is that everyone realizes this is not going to be over in 2 days or 2 weeks or even 2 months. We have to stop, as I talked about in our staff meeting this morning, and I'll say to everyone, is we have to understand that it's not, the question to ask right now isn't when are we going to get back to normal? We need to start thinking about how we're going to continue in this new reality. We have to be careful to not return too quickly, but also not delay so long that our economy stalls out, that our city stalls out. This is a city that relies on our hospitality and our tourism industry. We are a convention town as much as we are a port town. We have to figure out how to return to some level of normalcy, but that's not going to happen immediately. So in terms of those other conversations that are going on, is people are understanding, Steve, that this is we're in it for a long haul, and as much as we as families are trying to figure out how to get used to that, we're having to figure out how to cover our city, report, connect with our community in a whole new way.
Steph, you do such a great job of reporting on a side of Long Beach that can be easily overlooked. A population or a demographic of that population that many times people aren't looking at, you find. But I imagine right now that is challenging for you to find, to get to that group that you've done such a great job of reporting on. Yes?
Yes, it has. I am thankful that I made my connections with them early on, and a lot of these community groups tend to be older and they're on Facebook, so I've connected with them there too. And they have been the folks that I've been relying on to find out, okay, what do you need to know? What should we be reporting on? What should we do Spanish live chats on? So luckily, being on this beat for as long as I have been, I've made those connections, had them transfer over online, and am now online to be able to reach out to them and find out where that disconnect is. So, that's part of the benefit of being able to focus specifically on one beat in one geographic area that allows me to build those relationships.
And I know one of the things that was most important to you about that specific demo was the census. And you were writing about it right up until the time the stay-at-home went in effect. Where is that at? Have you talked to people about, is the stay-at-home a good thing because people have nothing else to do, so hey, I might as well fill this out? Or does that make an outreach to that community more difficult and therefore they're more vulnerable to not being counted?
What I've seen on the community side, or the community organization side, is they've been really creative in trying to get the message out. I had a friend who lives in North Long Beach. She sent me photos of a car parade going out with big old messages regarding the census going out. So that's been amazing to see, just the creativity in trying to engage folks and really trying to help them connect. And then as well with a school district board member telling us that that the families of students with Chromebooks can be using that for filling out the census. That's very important information to find out too. So I think what I've been most impressed is just the creativity and in trying to continue filling those gaps.
Jason, myself, Steph, David, Thomas, we've been in the office and obviously socially distanced and whatever, but you a while ago, you're at home. How long have you been at home now?
Seems like a year. I don't know, 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay, all right.
I miss you guys.
Okay. Don't kiss up. Anyways, it's unbecoming. What's it been like? Like I have friends who I'll call and say, "Hey, what you do today?" And they'll say nothing. And I'll go, "No, but really?" And they'll go like, "No, really, nothing." And I almost like, no, not almost. I do kind of like that I get out and I get to have a purpose and do stuff, and the day flies by. What's it like being at home all the time?
Well, I mean, you still working, and
Yeah,
then but I mean, I make sure, even though I'm not coming into the office, I still get up and take a shower like normal. So it's kind of like a normal day.
yeah.
I took a shower before this.
You didn't need to tell us that, but that's fine.
Take the dog out for a walk. That's a big thing now.
Right.
A joint activity for my wife and I.
Mm.
You learn to appreciate the little things, I guess.
Of the little things, what do you miss most right now about not being out, being in the office, those kinds of things?
um, Being able to pay more money for alcohol, going to a bar.
Oh,
I can
okay.
drink at home for a lot less, but I just miss like being around people.
Yeah.
Even though I don't talk to them, you'd like to have other people around.
Hey, Jason, I want to ask a question of you that I kind of asked of Steph. If you are someone from a community that really needs the city to pay attention to something that is happening to them, that's something important, that's something they believe in, and right now you don't really feel like you have access, what is the best way for people to kind of get notice by city government for something that they feel cannot wait?
Well, I mean, you could call your council person's office repeatedly if you have to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what it is. Are we talking about a pothole, or something to that effect? You can download the Go Long Beach app, which where are they at? Looks like that.
Okay.
Get it
Right.
on your phone. You can report a number of things on there, from like abandoned couches to potholes to trees that are about to fall over.
Okay.
And I think those are generally taken care of pretty quickly. But calling your, if you know who your council person is. If not, you can go to the longbeach.gov website, and you can find out who your council person is, and it has their phone number and their email. And if the issue is really pressing, I mean, just keep calling. They also are, kind of, depending on what their work situation is, maybe have more time to address these issues than they normally would.
By the way, how do you find the council members are handling this? Like, as far as this obviously throws a wrench into how they do what they do, because politicians in general are really good in person. It's very effective for them to go out and meet their constituents. That's a great
Right.
way to get a positive feeling. How are most of them dealing with this? I'm curious. Is there one of them who is particularly good at social media that they're able to, or are they all good or all bad? I don't know.
Well, I was actually thinking about that while we were having this discussion, is that, so every last Tuesday of the month is there's no council meeting, and a lot of those council members take that opportunity to hold community meetings in their respective districts, where they have almost like a town hall. It'll be focused on one thing, but they'll also take questions on other things from people, and they're well attended. So obviously those can't happen anymore. And I've noticed that those council members have started to increase their Facebook posts all via email. But again, you have to be signed up for those to get them. So if you know what district you live in, I would suggest maybe liking the council person's page so you can get those daily or weekly updates. You could also, again, through the city website, sign up for their individual newsletters based on which district you live in. But I have seen a lot of digital stuff increase in terms of announcements. And obviously the city's been doing a really good job of getting stuff out there, through the daily news conferences or the e-blasts, or if you've been getting those texts and calls from that unknown number.
Yeah.
It's the city telling everybody, the updates about the stay-at-home order. So they're trying, but it's difficult when you can't do things that we used to do 2 months ago.
I know, it's tough. And I'm just looking at this, we can't get our hair cut, and I feel I'm morphing into Neil Diamond here. I think I actually
Got a
have sideburns. Hey, I just want to go around real quick. Steph, I'll start with you because I'm going to own up to it. I've had a couple times when I forgot about the social distance. And have you had any moments where you're like, oh crap, I'm not supposed to do that anymore?
Not while reporting. I think just when I'm out in the like buying groceries and stuff. Like I like push myself aside when people are getting too close to me, and so I have that kind of reminder. But I try to be good when I'm on the job.
Thomas, how about you?
No, I think I'm pretty cautious
Oh,
about.
you're all liars.
No,
Look at
no.
that. I'm being real. David, be real. Have you had, moments where you're like, ah?
Yeah, I spend about 70% of my time touching my face, and I never knew that before.
That's one of the reasons to have this. It just stops you from touching. All right, Jason, tell us.
Well, I mean, the good thing about City Hall being closed down for me is that I don't have to come into proximity of where I will try to shake anybody's hand,
Right.
as David tried to once. But yeah. I mean, I also touch my face. I realized that like 90% of my day is just doing this. So I wash my hands a lot and stay home. So
What we got here? What's going on here? Hold on a second. See, this is news. It's happening. All right, here we go. What's going on? Yeah, sure. This is news. It's a news program.
Check Slack on the television channel.
Yes.
Jeez.
What am I looking at? I can't see. Wait.
I think David.
Oh, here we go. Here I got it. Here we got it. I don't know.
David-
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what this is. See, that's live TV or whatever the hell this is. Anyways.
Steve, I think what everyone's trying to tell you
Yeah.
is to let me talk for a minute at the end of this. So
I just let you talk about touching your face. Come on. David, talk to us.
thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
One of the things that we've talked a lot about in our newsroom is that a lot of us have worked in journalism a long time. And this is a story that has been so urgent on a global, a national, and a local level in Long Beach. It's unlike anything that any of us have covered before. In response to our coronavirus coverage, we've gotten a lot of messages of support, a lot of handwritten notes from residents, hundreds of new financial supporters, comments on our social media feeds. There's one message that I wanted to share with everyone that's watching out there that we received from somebody on Facebook, which captures really what we do in our newsroom. Fabian wrote, I'm very impressed by the way that the Long Beach Post has pivoted during this crisis to bring diverse and interesting reporting in new formats. I see your publication in a very different light these days. His note really says it all to me. We're in a new reality here in our newsroom, in our city. We're looking for a return to normalcy. We're longing for deep and reliable reporting, for connection to our community as well. And the Long Beach Post is here for you, for our community, for our city. And we need your support now more than ever. We need your support to continue the vital work that we're doing, that our newsroom is doing. And thousands of people are already contributing financially to that. But today we're launching another way to directly support our coronavirus reporting. And that comes with a tax-deductible benefit too. With the help and support of the local media foundation, we've launched the Long Beach Post COVID-19 Local News Fund. It's a way to make a tax-deductible contribution to our journalism through this crisis, to support the largest team of journalists in our city, to support a newsroom that has never had a paywall, that has never charged for access to our reporting, to our journalism. We believe it is part of our mission. We believe that everyone should have access to information about our community, regardless of their ability to pay for that. And now you can support that mission too with a tax-deductible contribution to the newsroom, to the Long Beach Post. If you go on any of our social media feeds, you'll see how to do that, how to donate, but it's in this link in this chat as well. You can also visit lbpo.st/COVID-19. But check out our website, check out our newsletter if you're a subscriber. Thank you to everyone that is a subscriber and a donor to the Post, but now you can do it with a tax-deductible benefit to support the work that we're doing right now. Please give as generously as you can, and thank you for your endearing support of the Long Beach Post. And Steve, your show.
David, thank you very much. And I just want to piggyback on that. I go out a lot. I'm in charge of our video outfit. And so we go out and we see a lot of people. And I know people are not only appreciative of the facts we bring them, the numbers, the statistics, the things they have to do, the things to stay safe, but simple connection they get with their neighbors, with the rest of Long Beach. And it's a pleasure. I can't tell you how it brings us so much pleasure to be able to do that, but obviously we need support. And so David, thanks for doing that. I want to thank Steph. I want to thank Jason, David, Thomas, our producer, Stephen Smith. I'm about to go out now to the office where I'm going to take a ton of crap. I can already hear them cackling because that's journalism too. We're going to get back to it. Thanks a lot. Tomorrow, David or Melissa, somebody, will be speaking to our new city manager, Tom Modica. Be sure and tune in and ask some questions. Thanks again. Bye-bye.